Okay, we're ready for the next installment on the solar install on the motorhome. This is the pure sine wave inverter that I got off of Craigslist. This thing is a beast. It is about 60 pounds in weight, and it is a low frequency inverter compared to a high frequency inverter, which I'll show you in just a second. This one is about 2,400 watts. The company is Dimensions on this. Very good company. Excellent. Just absolutely excellent inverter. The technology here is great. Durability of this thing lasts forever. And it has a surge on it, about 64, a little over 6,400 watts for about 5 seconds. So it will start up most anything that has a big draw, big surge on it to get it going, like motors and things like that. So it'll do a great job. And this thing, like I said, is pretty heavy, and it's a pretty big box, all told. Now, over here on the top, I have a modified sine wave inverter. That's a 1750 watt inverter. I think it's 1500 continuous, but it surges a little bit more on that. And the bottom one here is it's a great inverter, 3000 watt inverter. It's a pure sine wave as well. Weighs probably only about 20 pounds. Now one would say, why would I go with this beast over here at 60 pounds and so much larger at 2,400 watts rather than this one that only weighs 20 pounds. I'm just guessing at that because I know it's a lot lighter. It has actually 3,000 watts in it. So, a good question, and I'm going to give you that answer. This is a high frequency inverter compared to a low frequency inverter. For those of you that may be familiar with power supplies, now the main reason I'm doing this is because of ham radio, and there's less noise. This inverter right here should, because it's a low frequency, should have much less radio interference noises that are coming in on the ham radios. This one over here, it's a known quantity. It has a lot of noise coming in, and the comparison would be a switching power supply to a linear power supply. For those of you that are familiar with ham radio, you'll know what I'm talking about. This one changes the 12 volt DC current into 110. Now we all know that's more like 13 volts DC into 120 AC by electronics. So that's the way it does it. It's going to do it through a series of electrical components which are going to generate noise, and then the manufacturers then have to go in and put in more electrical components to try to knock down some of that noise. Over here, this one is going to do it by a big, massive transformer coil. So a lot of steel and copper wire in this one. It's going to do it that way without having to go through all the electronics. Now, as you can see, this one is pretty beat up on the front. So this was in a commercial vehicle. Like I say, I did get it off of Craigslist, and even though this inverter has a few years on it, it works great, and because of the way it's manufactured, it should have many years of great service left in it. Now, because it's all scratched up, I wanted to make it pretty and get it looking a little bit nicer to go in the motorhome and the renovation project I'm doing there. And so I did contact the company, Dimensions, Sensata, I believe it is, and they were very, very generous in sending me a new front panel. I told them what I was trying to find for this thing was the decal set, because I want to sand it down, paint it, and put on a new set of decals on the front that would make it look pretty much like brand new again almost, once I cleaned it up and polished it down and smoothed out some of the rough metal. And so they were generous enough to just send me one for free. However, that's the only plate I got. So I don't look a gift horse in the mouth at all. I'm very grateful that I did get this. I'm not sure that it will fit. It seems to be a different style. It only has 2 screws and fits in. This one has a series of 6 screws in it. So I'll have to see if that'll even work, or if we can make it work. And then I'm going to see if I can, once I get this sanded down, print up some labels. I've got a fairly decent label maker, and I'm going to just try to make labels and maybe a little paint on here to mark it off like it is now, and try to get this to looking pretty good. Let me just go through some of the things here. Over here, those 2 big wires, that is double-aught wire on this thing. These are the 12-volt in. So these are going to be from the battery bank, and it's going to go in here. This wire coming out right here, that is for my 120 or 110 voltage coming out the AC. So I'll probably go in, because this is going to be wired in directly to the main box on the motorhome to power pretty much every outlet and everything there. And while I think this beast has enough horsepower to get one of the AC units going, just because of the amount of power that an AC unit consumes, it wouldn't be practical, at least not for any period of time. So I'll probably go in and put some heavier cable in for this one. Also, this is when I was communicating back and forth with the people from the manufacturer, they said just for a remote switch, use the violet wire. Well, here is a violet wire inside this, and since it is only a single wire, I don't know what else it would go to unless it's going to be grounded. So I need to contact them and see if, one, I can go with a remote switch to hook into this thing that will give me all of this information that's available remotely. That's what I would like to have. All right, so that's the beginning of this project. The differences in between the high frequency inverters, pure sine wave, and a modified sine wave, and the low frequency. So hopefully whenever I get this thing installed, it should be absolutely zero noise interference coming from this inverter over the ham radio equipment. And because of I'm going to be wanting to run computers and things like that, pure sine wave is the only way to go. All right, there we go. This is going to be the first installment on the inverter, and I guess the 4th on the solar series. We'll start taking this thing apart and get back to you later.